Okay, good evening. Welcome to the City of Indianola Board of Adjustment meeting. We'll call to order. Start with the roll call, please.
Board Member Mitchell.
Present.
Board Member Whalen.
Here.
Board Member Soldwich. Board Member Bash.
Here. So we'll seek to approve the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And second,
Second.
Charlie, are you taking notes?
Yep, I've got it. I'm trying to do everything. So on that one, just ask all in favor. Aye.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. And then we'll seek approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
I will move to approve the minutes of the
June 7th.
July 11th.
Yes, you're right.
I wonder.
That is wrong
Now
on the
that it
agenda.
just-
Yes.
Okay,
Notice that.
so noticed, okay. A second for the July 11th.
I second.
Thank you. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed, same size. Motion passes. Our first order of new business is to consider a request from Nick Horstman on behalf of Dave Rosenberger for a variance for property located at 1315 South Jefferson Way. There's two items with this. There's a variance request to allow for the construction of an accessory structure within the front yard area. And the second item is a variance request to allow for the construction of a 2688 square foot accessory structure.
I will give a presentation. What we have for the presentation here is going to kind of combine these both into one for now. And then when we go through deliberations and then a vote, we'll separate them at that point for separate votes. Just want to make sure the board was clear on that before moving forward. As mentioned, Nick Horstman on behalf of David Rosenberger has submitted a variance request for the property at the address of 1315 South Jefferson Way. The application does include the two variances that Member Bash noted. The variance request would allow for an accessory structure to be placed in the front yard, to which zoning code does not allow for accessory structures to be placed in the front yard. They must be placed behind the principal structure. The variance request also asked for allowance of an accessory structure to exceed the maximum allowable size requirement by 888 square feet. The applicant has stated that the structure would be used for maintenance vehicles, as well as storage of recreational Humvee vehicles such as motorcycles, a boat, an RV, and other vehicles. Looking at the area here on the property, this is a larger property for an urban setting. You talked about this one internally a few times, and you can see the properties across the street as opposed to the one on this one. That kind of gives some good frame of reference. There is a large body of water that is located on the property as well. And there is also a septic tank field, which is just south of the dwelling. There is an area when this house was built, and at that time, our zoning code had been different, where we did allow structures in the front yard for this type of property. But during that time, there was some grading that was done on the property for kind of a pad for a future accessory building. And that is located just to the east of the dwelling. Looking at the code sections, and I'm not sure what is happening on the screen here. There we go.
There.
Just have to go through it a couple times and get that all worked out. Looking at the code section that applies to total size, what it says is accessory buildings and structures shall be limited to a maximum of 2 total buildings, including a garage, of which all total accessory buildings shall not occupy more than 10% of the total lot area, nor exceed a total square footage of 1,800 square feet. And as mentioned before, the applicant is seeking a variance that would exceed the maximum allowable by 888 square feet. Accessory structures and buildings and structures shall be erected to the rear of any principal building. No accessory structure shall be located between any principal building and any street. A detached private garage may be constructed along the side of a principal building, provided that said garage is no closer than 10 feet from the principal building, does not extend past the front face of the principal building. So those are the two applicable code sections that we are looking at here today. So I wanted to go through the findings of fact that were included in the staff report. First, for the size variance. Each of those conditions up here, let me here, sorry. There we go. Each of the conditions for the findings of fact are listed here. First, that being the special conditions and circumstances exist, which are peculiar to the land, structure, or buildings involved, and which are not applicable to other land, structures, or buildings in the same district. For this one, staff's opinion is this criteria has not been met, as there are no special conditions or circumstances that exist that would be peculiar to the land that would warrant an accessory structure to be larger than the maximum allowable for this zoning district. The second finding of fact is that the literal interpretation of the provisions of this code would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same district under the terms of this chapter. We noted that it is our opinion that this criteria has not been met. There are three things to note in there: that accessory structures over 1,800 square feet in size is not common, right, for residential properties, which are zoned A1. The granting of the variance would confer a right that other properties within the district do not have, and would adversely affect the order, conveyance, and general welfare of the neighborhood. And lastly, that the structure would not meet neighborhood expectations of the enforcement and compliance of city zoning regulations. The next finding of fact is that special conditions and circumstance do not result from the actions of the applicant. Again, we have noted that this one is not met in our opinion, and strict application of the size requirement would not constitute an unnecessary hardship. By not reducing the size of the accessory structure, the applicant is making a decision by choice. This includes additional space provided that would not be used for storage. And additionally, the property owner has other alternatives that they may consider. Lastly, that the granting of the variance request will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this code to the other land, structures, and buildings in the same district. No non-conforming use of neighboring land, structures, or buildings in the same district, and no permitted use of land, structure, or building in other districts shall be considered grounds for the issuance of variance. Again, staff's opinion is this one has not been met, and that the property owner is not experiencing a hardship or is disfranchised, or other properties within the zoning district are not allowed at accessory structures over the proposed size. Deviation from the zoning code would not be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning code. And if granted, a right or special privilege would be imposed that other properties in this zoning district do not have. Do we want to go over that one first before we go on to the location, or do we want to go over all these first and then?
May I ask one question
Yes.
on something you said? So you talked about the location, and talked that there had been some land graded ahead of time.
Yep.
So is this a situation that the city has grown up around this land? It's 15 acres is too large for really be inside the city, so it's kind of a unique situation.
Yeah, I would say that's probably a fair assessment. Yep.
The codes may be changed in
Yep.
between there. Yep.
Yep.
That's what I thought.
So again, the ones that we talked about there were just on the size variance portion of it. Now the location variance, on this one, going through the same four findings of fact. I'm not going to read them again. But for this one, we have found that all the criteria on the location variance has been met. First, on that topographic conditions such as steep slopes and water body limit the property owner in siting an accessory structure in the rear yard, and that there is a septic field located to the south of the property, also limiting the property and also limits the property and properly siting an accessory structure. Sorry, I'm having a lot of tongue twisters here. The next one, again, we found that this criterion has been met, that generally each property is allowed an accessory structure within their property that complies with general zoning code requirements, and that granting the variance would not confer a right that other properties within the district do not have, nor would it adversely affect the order, conveyance, and general welfare of the neighborhood. And lastly, that the structure would meet neighborhood expectations of enforcement and compliance with city zoning regulation, so long as it is screened from public street views. The next one, again, found that that one had been met. And again, our criteria says that strict application of the size requirement would constitute an unnecessary hardship, and that the property owner proposing the location of the structure within the front yard is due to existing conditions of the property outside of their control. Lastly, on the last findings of fact, again, we found that this one had been met, that the property owner would be disenfranchised as no other reasonable location could be cited for the structure. And if granted, a right or special privilege would not be imposed that other properties in this zoning district do not have. So again, when we break up these two variance requests, what staff is saying is we see that the variance request to allow for the construction of the accessory structure within the front yard area, that the findings of fact have all been met for that one. However, the request to allow for the construction of a 2,688 square foot accessory structure going over that total size limit, that the findings of fact have not been satisfied for that variance request. We've got some points to consider on the screen here above. They were included in your staff report for the board. And if we want to go over those, there's a quick summary of kind of some of the stuff that I've already gone over in the presentation. But again, staff's recommendation regarding the size of the structure is to deny that variance request. And then staff's recommendation regarding the location of the structure would be to approve that variance request with conditions. Those conditions being that a opaque landscape screen be installed and maintained to screen the accessory structure from visibility along South Jefferson Way. We noted landscaping must comply with chapter 165.08 of the code, and that the architectural style and design of the accessory structure must match that of the main principal structure located on the site. That last condition, honest to God, is a code requirement. We always like to add those sometimes in special circumstances, just to make sure that we kind of put that on notice.
Sure.
So with that, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them regarding this request.
One of the things, this is 15 acres, but from my view in looking at it, you couldn't ever divide, you couldn't sell off part of it for other lots. So it's 15 acres that are going to stay 15 acres all the time.
Yep. I think that's probably a fair assessment on that as well too, just based off the location of everything on there. And if I can get back to the map here, just kind of show that property again. I do think that's a fair assessment.
And again, and you can see, and it was very nice of Rod to send in his support of this. I think, and I just, 2 months ago, we had Rod bring in, come to Board of Adjustments to have his lot approved. And I think there's a big deal of difference, in my opinion, between a 2 or 2.5 acres and 15 acres and maintaining it with the city growing around it versus having houses on both sides of it.
This question kind of combines both variance requests, and that is on the landscaping screen. If the property or the size was granted, would the landscaping screening go that full size of the property or full size of the structure?
The way that our condition was listed, it's really just a screen. So if you're traveling on Jefferson Way, it would be kind of landscaping screen along the front side of that building that's parallel to the road, but not around all 4 sides or 3 sides or 2 sides.
So that you wouldn't really see the building.
That's the whole point. So we have to look at the intent of the code, and obviously the intent of the code when we say we want accessory structures located in the rear yard is so that we don't have accessory structures visible in the front yard. So when people, just generally are driving down roads, they're not seeing accessory structures in the front yard of every property. So knowing this and kind of knowing some of the location constraints that we see on this property, we're trying to kind of find that good balance of, we definitely understand that you don't have another alternative location for this structure. However, we still want to try to meet some of the intent of that code by providing that screening barrier from the road.
Questions? We have people who want to speak to us? Yes, sir.
I included a site plan. You can see how,
Come on up.
We included a
And
site-
please introduce yourself.
I'm Nick Horseman
And you-
with Morton Buildings, and we're looking to open an accessory building. Here. I included a site plan with all that information. I want to say we're close to 300 feet off the road. And yes, we are technically front yard, but we're building next to the garage. So as you see an L there, the house runs parallel with the highway. Garage is east-west, and we're looking to put it in line with the garage right there. And we're gonna be, like the front of the garage is here, we're gonna be behind it. Parallel with, in line. So technically from code, yes, we're in the front yard, but we're looking at, realistically, it's kind of the back area.
Kind of off to the side.
It's not gonna block your visibility. of the
It's
house.
it's, and as you pull into Dave's driveway, there is a hill before you start coming down to see the whole.
Yeah, this on the screen here is a site plan that was included, and you had this in your packet as well, but kind of see where they show the outline of the building here. And if I scroll to the bottom down here, just kind of zoomed in a little bit on where that location would be.
Any other questions? Anybody else want to speak to this? Are you there?
I'm Dave Rosenberg. I'm just gonna say, I took down a 4,000 square foot brick building. And 3 barns. So that cleaned the property. It was. You're gonna raise your tax base here. It's really. Not asking for anything special. Just trying to take care of 15 acres.
So understand, please, that you are asking for something special in terms of that it's something that exceeds what the norm is under these circumstances, but it has some extenuating circumstances that we recognize at the same time. The size of your property, for instance, which is I think a mitigating characteristic of this particular application that we would take into consideration. Any other questions of the colleagues here? So I have a question at this. If we are to approve this, my concern would be setting a precedent that we approve it and then somebody a year from now comes down and says, you approved that, so why won't you approve this? Can we actually add stipulations to our approval that suggest that this is a unique situation? We recognize this is a unique situation, the size of the property, the fact that it won't be visible from the road. I think those are both extenuating circumstances that we would take into consideration.
100%. And I know that's always a fear anytime we make decisions that we're setting a precedence, and that's would be our guidance as well to the board, is that if you are going to do that, to provide some rationale for doing it on this particular piece of property. That helps you out, that helps us out as well. So if somebody does come in and says, hey, we know this one was approved, we can then go tie back to minutes or something and say, or even the findings of facts and the decision in order and say, well, this is why this one was approved for these particular reasons. I'm pretty confident in saying that I don't think there's any 2 properties that are exactly the same when you look at every single condition that comes into play on a lot of this stuff. So, and we see a lot of unique things on every single property in the city. So
Sure.
So I'm good. Oh, go ahead.
I have a question. You indicated when that, or maybe it's where I was reading, that when this property was built, there was landscape, dirt moved, elevations and so forth to build this size of building. And that was before the code was changed, or to build an accessory building, maybe not this
I was
size.
gonna say, I might defer to the property owner a little bit because I'm trying to relay a conversation that I had with him a few months ago on that too, so.
Yeah.
I
Dave,
can't-
do you want to come up here? Yeah. I'll try to ask it. So when you purchased the property, tore down the buildings that were out there, was it your plan? Was it in the
My
plan the entire time?
Plan the whole time was when we built the pad and everything, it was okay at the time to do this. So we even moved the electric down there. So the electric box is sitting there already too, so it'll split off to do the house and the building. Yeah, we had. from day one, and it was legal. But when we did it, I just waited to do it.
But is that part of the reason that you tore those other accessory buildings down and?
If I'd have known that, well, this was ag. This is ag ground, so I'm just paying residential. You know. Actually, I don't even think taxes $1,200 when I got it.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
So Charlie, I'm gonna make a motion. And so I have a question for you. First off, I'll make both the motions separately though. I'm gonna make a motion to approve both pieces. But will you make sure you get in the notes that I'm asking for it to be approved? You don't want that in the motion, do you? My stipulations, that it is because, not a stipulation. I'm asking for it to be approved because my rationale.
So you can make the motion, we'll get a second, and we can have discussion. after
Okay,
that.
you'll get it in
We can
there.
go over those
Okay.
reasons why. Yes.
Let's do the first part.
Sure.
I make a motion to approve the variance to allow the construction of the accessory building in the front yard of the 1315 South Jefferson Way property.
Do I hear a second?
Second that?
Discussion? Vote?
I think I'm ready.
You're gonna
Oh,
discuss.
do we have to
it.
discuss first?
Well,
Yeah,
we don't.
You don't have to.
You don't have to. I'm just saying.
I'm all for it.
Okay, then. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. This motion passes. And we'll now hear a motion for the second part.
And I make a motion to approve, excuse me, the construction of the described accessory building at the 2,688 square foot accessory building on South Jefferson Way.
Here a second. And discussion?
The discussion is, we're approving it because I'm asking to have it approved because it got grandfathered into the city limits. It's 15 acres. There is not a way to break out lots. And that's what I think the Board of Adjustments is for.
Can I suggest that we also want to put that landscaping in there?
Oh, yes, and is exactly how it was stated in here, the
Yes.
landscaping.
Yes. Okay,
And the architectural style.
yes, absolutely.
Just as it's
The two
written,
conditions that were listed.
Yeah, we're
the
listed
conditions
there.
that were listed.
Okay.
Just allow the size.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. This motion passes.
So both variances approved.
Plant the trees.
Congratulations.
Plant some trees. I've been planting them.
That
Did we
brings
shut
us.
off the air conditioning today? Everybody else think it's hot down here?
Yes.
Whoa,
Second that.
I have too. It's just me, Charlie.
No, it's.
I'm looking at Amy and her cheeks are getting red.
Our next order of new business is to consider a request from Austin Sanford and Elaine. I hope that's the right pronunciation, Elaine DaCosta, for a variance for a property located at 1101 West 12th Avenue.
All right. Austin
Before you
San-
start, may I state one thing?
Yes.
These pictures have a good picture of the road in front of it.
Yes.
Did you see the picture?
Austin Sanford and Alina DaCosta have submitted a variance request to allow for the construction of a driveway along West 12th Avenue. Again. All right. For a driveway along West 12th Avenue with a driveway separation of 70 feet less 30 feet of the required 100-foot driveway separation distance. As mentioned, the request is to allow for the construction of a driveway along West 12th Avenue with a driveway separation of 70 feet to which code requirements require separation along a major residential collector road to be 100 feet. West 12th Avenue is classified as a major residential collector road. You might look at this road, and again, I am sorry, I need to pay attention before I'm going through here, but you might look at this road and question why it's considered a collector. So.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh.
You know what? I think
I think it's the heat.
It's
Yeah,
the heat,
no,
right, Charlie?
100%, yeah.
Yes, for
too
sure.
much graphics in your
100%. Okay, so really quick, this is a collector road. If you look at the city's future transportation plan, if we want to look at this as part of this process, I can bring that map up. But Plainview, where it connects with Highway 65 at this point in time, would essentially go to the west, connect with 12th Avenue over to K. So there is a plan in the future at some point to have that road go through there. I always tell you, every time we look at our comp plan and future transportation plans, sometimes that can be perceived as kind of like best case scenario, like this is what we want the transportation system to look like, but it is how our classifications are done on our roads as well too.
from plan view.
Yes, all the way down through here. Let me get through this presentation. I'll bring up a map and I'll show it to you. It'll make a little bit more sense, I think. So
It'll be,
I'm not necessarily the best at
you
explaining.
and I won't be around.
So.
We'll not ever.
Picture here on the map shows the subject area. You can see here, just even from the aerial photo, that slopes and topographical challenges are present in the northwest corner of the lot, and they do stretch on the northern portion of that lot in the ditch section of West 12th. The applicant is requesting a variance to the above section code, which states that the driveway separation needs to be 100 feet on collector streets. Looking through the findings of fact, again, if you want me to, I can read all the findings of fact again. I'm going to just skip over the part of reading the finding of fact, and we'll tell you, first of all, on this one, staff's opinion is it has been met. That terrain does preclude development from occurring on the site, specifically steep slopes along the northwest side and north portion of the parcel, which limit the siting of a driveway. The second finding of fact, again, staff's opinion is this one has been met, and that denial of the request would result in a hardship of the property owner as topographical conditions limit reasonable siting of a driveway access to the property. The third one, again, staff's opinion is that this criteria is met. Reasons being that the strict application of size requirement would constitute an unnecessary hardship, and that topographical conditions limit the property owner in siting the driveway. And then the last one, again, staff's opinion is this one has been met. If granted, a right or special privilege would not be imposed that the other properties in this zoning district do not have as similar properties have the right to access. So the points to consider, as we mentioned, were included in the staff report, and I just went over a few of those. And staff is recommending approval of this variance request. If you give me 1 second, I will pull up a map of that future transportation plan.
If I understand this correctly, if you have, let's just say, a new development and the lots are 75 feet wide, it doesn't work because you have to get a variance for that because the driveways have to be 100 feet.
If it's a
apart.
collector street, yes. And so here, let me pull this up really quick, and I think hopefully this will make sense
It's
of
a
it.
collector street. Any street in Indianola is a collector street, Charlie.
Most of them are actually considered local roads.
I just didn't realize, I didn't realize it had to be 100 feet in.
So if you look at the map here, this shows kind of our future transportation network. Now, as I come down here, Plainview comes into 65, 69 here, and you can see the dash line is kind of a future alignment of that road that would connect with 12 and then over to K Street. So it's kind of meant to be just a collector type road that comes in there. So when we look at the types of roads here on the map, the red colored roads, and just double check, it's red colored, and the green colored are all considered arterial roads. Those are kind of your highest classification roads in the city. And then the orange and purple ones are considered collectors. And if they don't have a color on there, those are considered local roads. Those are typically your residential roads, which fall in that. So if you look at this from this perspective of when the comp plan was put together, it was kind of meant to just have this transportation network where you have the local roads that fill into the collector roads, and those collector roads connect to those arterial roads, if that makes sense. So on local roads, it's 50 foot of separation. On collector, it's 100, and then on an arterial, it's 150. Is what our driveway code states.
It'll be a long time.
Don't disagree. So any
Okay,
questions? Happy to answer them.
questions? Have comments from the public here?
My name is Rob Cross. We live directly to the north of this property. Can someone tell me where that driveway?
Pull it back up here.
On the north side, on the road that's coming off.
We're on West 12th.
They're proposing a split of it, so it's not. I don't know if it's the exact location, but it's approximately from your driveway here, it would be 70 feet to the west. So I want to say that lends it at about right in this area here.
It's not showing them.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, my pointer is not shown on there. Here we go. So from your, this is your driveway here?
Yep.
Okay, so it'll be 70 feet from your driveway here on this side. And like I said, I'm not, this probably isn't exact, but my assumption would be it's probably somewhere in this area right here.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments or?
I can see their concern. Their concern was that you can get out and turn around and then
Right.
Right.
they're not
Yeah.
right across from each other.
Yeah, exactly. I thought the property line was actually on the other side of our driveway, but.
Yeah, these maps are the ones that we pull from the county assessor's website. They're never meant to be 100% accurate.
Right,
So
so-
you could be right on that. Yeah.
Yeah, so we just didn't want a driveway right across from us and maybe the lights coming straight into the house type of thing.
Sure. You have a long
We
driveway.
also didn't know that you were
Pardon?
planning something else there.
You have a long driveway.
Yeah, and it's rock, so we don't want people backing trucks into it all the time to go into theirs and that kind of stuff.
Do we have any way of determining that this is in fact where the location is going to be? Is this?
As far as on the map.
Yeah.
No.
It's everything from the lot line, so.
You guys the owner.
No, we're actually we
Yeah,
live
I mean,
across the street.
Movers?
We're the ones that-
Okay.
Oh,
I can actually, I know Alini and Austin are online, but I've been working with her to help you.
so is that what they're saying? Is it gonna be to the west? driveway?
Yes,
The property line, when we had it surveyed, was actually right where that.
that lilac
That's
bush.
pretty much.
They're gonna go a little bit, almost right across from your fire hydrant.
Fire hydrant.
Oh, clear on there?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, right in there. Yep.
that works
You're
for
right,
us.
you guys get in and out.
So they'll put a culvert under the driveway, I'm assuming.
That's our understanding there.
I'm just.
Where's the lilac bush, Charlie?
Over here, I
Didn't
can,
really show it
can I
on
show
here.
you kind of where it's at?
Yeah, let's show
Right
you.
there, I'm at 70 feet from that driveway right there on that measurement, so.
So the property line is actually right,
Yeah, that's what I was,
so
Yeah.
it's gonna be like.
right on the inside of that fire hydrant.
Yeah, I'm just,
There, yeah.
I'm trying
That's
to
where it
kind of
is.
full measurement right there, so kind of approximately where that red line is.
That's where the hydrant is.
Austin said yes to the west online.
Yeah.
So we have happy campers. Are there any other comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll call for a motion.
I move that we approve the variance for the location of the driveway as stated in the report, staff report for 111101 West 12th Avenue.
Do I hear a second?
I will second that.
Any comments? All those in favor
Aye.
and those opposed, same sign. This motion passes. We are done with that part of our business. We just have a couple other agenda items to go. Starting with comments. Do we have comments?
Anybody guess what my first comment will be?
We don't know anyone.
Yes. Anyways, still.
Ask the audience.
And in this board, if anybody's looking.
Yes.
To volunteer, it's an easy thing to
I've talked
volunteer.
to a couple people.
How easy the staff makes it with all the detail and
Volunteer for.
Sure.
Yes, if anybody is interested in joining, I say it because I hope people watch on the YouTube video that goes out, but if you know anybody, please ask.
Have asked a couple times, but haven't been saved so far. Okay. Then I think that's our only comment.
I don't have anything unless you guys have any questions or comments for us.
And I call for a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
I will second that.
All those in favor?
All right.
Thank you for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure to have you and it was kind of painless and it feels like. a
And
win.
usually it's not so
You're
warm.
welcome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.